Welcome to 10-Minute Treasure. My name is Jeff Pospisil, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to prevent church fraud. And in a previous video, which I'll link in the description, I talked about the number one way, which was to do your annual church audit. And now I'm going to talk about the number two way, which is never handle cash alone. That needs to be drilled into us that we never handle cash alone. So I don't know if there's any statistics on how much money is actually stolen from the offering plate, partially because cash, it's non-traceable. It could be very tempting. And if you have the perfect opportunity, there's very little chance that you're going to get caught. So in my house, we have a cookie jar. So this cookie jar, it's interesting. You very rarely see somebody take a cookie from the cookie jar, yet they disappear up until you get down to the last 1 to 3 cookies. And those cookies will stay there for almost forever, because then it's noticeable that somebody's taking cookies. Before then, you know, it's hard to tell if there's 20 cookies or 19 cookies. So the same thing is also with your cash offering. So the cash offering, obviously, people aren't going to take the cash offering when there's people looking. And sometimes, by the way, I just want to say this first of all. It's not necessarily bad people, but it might be somebody that says, oh man, I got to run and do something afterwards and I don't have any cash on me. I'll borrow $20 and then I'll give that $20 back next week. Whether or not it happens next week, I have no idea. But a lot of times it is something where you justify it. You have the perfect opportunity. It's unattended. Nobody will notice because there's more than just one $20 bill in there or something like that. So you just give that perfect opportunity. But if you add that one person, all of a sudden, you cannot do that. I mean, same thing with the cookie jar. I rarely, when I'm in the kitchen cooking, do I see somebody grab one, even though it's permissible. It's not like we have a rule against it, but there must be some kind of social constraint about it. So with taking from the offering plate, there actually is a rule. And so that's why very rarely will people do it when there's somebody in the room with them. So what I encourage you, this would be my ideal scenario. So we take the offering, we put it up maybe at the front of the altar after we bless it or something like that. But then we have 2 people and we walk it down. And if it's, you know, depending on what your practice is, either we count it now or we lock it up. So we have the 2 people, they lock it up. And then another counting team consisting of at least 2 people goes ahead and counts it. Otherwise, those 2 people, not from the same household, they go ahead and they count it. So I did another video on this. How do you actually do that? But I mean, you just always wanted to have those 2 people. You don't want to leave it unattended. So a lot of churches might have a petty cash account, or maybe it's a cash fund to help people in need. People are getting more and more away from helping people with just cash because it's hard to determine what they spend that on, isn't it? So, but they might still have some kind of petty cash to cover small purchases and supplies, and maybe if you order in food for somebody or whatever it is, you know, just those miscellaneous things come up. So there's probably 2 good ways to do this. Either way, you should have a log for your petty cash. So anytime you take money out, you log it. And then if you get a receipt, for example, then that would be something that you would also put with the log. And then whenever you need to refill the petty cash account, probably monthly or so, you would go ahead and take that log, total it up. Hopefully the receipts match up, turn it into the treasurer who writes a check for cash, and that refills it. So that would be what I think would be, that's mandatory no matter what. But that log is only part of the solution. Now you have to think about, first of all, I would make sure that petty cash is secure. So it's in a locked desk drawer, maybe it's in the safe, something like that, where it's not something that anybody can access. So you want to make sure you're limiting the number of people that have access to it. Depending on how much cash goes in and out of there, like if it's a large amount of cash, and you maybe have multiple staff. So I wouldn't say it would be a bad thing to say the rule is you never take cash out unless you have somebody with you. So that would not be a bad deal, especially if it is something for like benevolences. So you go ahead and let's just say it's the church secretary, takes out $50 and they make sure that somebody else is there to initial it in that log, and that would be okay. But if you're a smaller church, maybe you don't have that option. Maybe it's not that easy. Maybe you're the pastor's there and they're allowed to go and access it. So again, it comes back down to you need to make sure that drawer is secure, that everything's logged, and that way you at least have, if you start to notice some discrepancies. So when you go through the audit, for example, and somebody's always buying pens, like every Friday they're buying pens. Well, chances are they're taking out $10-20 to go and get a snack or something like that instead, and they just feel justified doing it. So you would notice that in the log. But at least it limits the number of people you have to investigate. So, and again, if they know somebody's watching, if they know somebody's like the treasurer has to review that log, the audit committee has to review that log, it is a way of bringing somebody else in to help you watch that cash. All right, that brings us to the end. I hope this was helpful, and I will put a link. I did a video about how to count cash, and I think I have a counter sheet there. I'll probably put a link to that as well down there. And I hope this helps you. If you found it helpful, like, subscribe, share. I'll put a link to my blog also, jctaccounting.com. that if you subscribe to it, then you get an email notification whenever I put out a new video, which is about once a week. All right. God bless.